from.
Okay, you're live. Well, we should be.
All right.
But I will give it a couple minutes or a minute just to see, to make sure, see if anybody funnels in. But yeah, this might be our least structured one so far.
I mean, the impromptu ones are always going to,
Yeah.
That we're just collectively getting information as we're getting it,
Yeah,
or processing
pretty much.
information as we're
Yeah,
getting
and
it.
some of it's like hot off the press information. And then I'm gonna bring up the weather while I'm thinking about it, because that's the other.
Oh yeah, the
Yes,
weather's gonna
it
fuck
is.
over everything.
Hey.
Hey, we're live.
Oh, I did not know we went live yet.
That's
Oh,
okay.
now that we got that opinion out there.
Everybody's allowed one little slip up. We all
One
know.
per showing, right? Because I've had more than one mess up in our streams.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll forgive you. But so hello, welcome in everybody. Adrian says hi, and he laughed because he might have heard your little opinion on the weather forecast. But that's all of ours, a collective opinion on the weather forecast. So
Just in a more PG rating.
But anyway, this is gonna be super informal because we weren't gonna do one today. We did one yesterday, but of course the sun was busy overnight and all day, so we have things to talk about and some confusion, amongst the experts in the field. But I think we might have figured something out. But actually, the agencies modeled it with what we're thinking is the source of this CME that was possibly far-sighted. But now I think we're pretty confident it was front-sided, and we'll get into that. So I will hand it over to whoever wants to start.
I'll take imagery and I guess our explanation, and then Anya, you can do with the models from there. That sounds
Absolutely.
good.
Yep.
So, okay, I'll go ahead and get my sharing going. So yes, we did originally think, now when I say we, I say me and then a few other people initially thought we had a far-sighted thing because a lot of people were attributing this X flare to the CME, which was almost pretty clear that no, that was not the case. The CME is not at all from this. It happened an hour before the flare even occurred for the X1. So without doing further digging, I would just assumed, okay, that must mean something happened to the far side. Well, yes, too, there were far side flares. In fact, the entire sun had been flaring over the last probably, 24 hours almost. But there is a definite eruption in the southeast region with 3939, I believe is its designation. So as we have it here, I've got 195 from GOES, the SUV instrumentation. This is around between 2 UTC and 7 UTC. There is clear signs of an eruption right there. And I know that's a little hard to see. It's not very much. There's a tiny bit of dimming, but it's consistent with the direction, which was a southeastern bias, and it is also consistent mostly with the timing. It was about an hour, about 4:50, I think, is when we first see the signs. It was almost 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half before we started seeing it into Glasgow, which then, zooming out for the full picture, which I do love having that whole thing there, it makes sense. The CME itself was, as far as I could tell, only about 800 to 900 kilometers a second based on all of the different ensembles I was able to do with StereoCat, which actually I don't think I have saved on here. No, I did not save it. So that's that. But about 800, 850. It's not very fast. So I really, the G3 watch seems very, 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 God, what's the word? How do I want to phrase this? Someone help me out. Optimistic? I guess, yeah, that's going to be the best way. My assumption, and let's assume that this was done for a specific reason, just for fun. My assumption is there was a lot that happened on the sun over the last 10 hours.
Yeah.
Some CMEs, some releases, it's everywhere. So my assumption is not only this CME, but then the other possibilities, which I'll be honest, I did not see any notable CMEs, at least in between that time period. But so this is clearly the one that we're going to have here, and it's definitely a partial halo. I'd say it hit about 300 degrees almost across the solar disk. There was a couple core eruptions from behind the eastern limb, and then all the flaring taking place. but I did not see any other notable eruptions from there. So, just to summarize to everyone, definitely front side. Would be willing to bet money on that one. Not very fast, not very intense. Wasn't even really a notable flare given all that was going on. There was likely a composite number. So if you check goes around the same time, we had what?
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
We were at a total flux of M2, almost M3, but that's the composition of 3 or 4 different flares occurring at the same time. So God knows if this was even a notable one.
There was a lot of
So
these sympathetic flares. Like
yeah, in
it's
fact,
been
here
pretty cool to watch. Except it makes a forecasting nightmare, but they're really neat.
I did at least get a decent amount of imagery for this. So
Yeah, it's just
it's like fireworks.
like literally like fireworks.
So much like fireworks that it needs voiceovers with little doo 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 sounds. And there was a pretty cool eruption over the eastern limb too. I just want to mention that one in this area here. It was a very big puff, and it came out on Lasgo as a puff, so it's nothing really to note. But it was cool that it was seen so visibly in 131. That's not very common. I think that is all I had. So with that, if Anya wants to go ahead and take over with modeling.
Yep.
Or did we want to show that stereo image too? Just to
Oh yes, sorry, good point. Let's do this.
I have
Yeah,
it
I
actually.
thought she had it
So
too.
this
Oh.
is sort of how
This is your
we
definitive
solved.
evidence.
Yeah, this is definitive evidence. If stereo A is showing it on the left side, meaning it's eastward directed, it is on the front side of the disk as opposed to the far-sided, because this is where stereo A is currently located. It has a side view of the sun. It's at 28 degrees off sun-earth line, so it has a better view of the west side of the sun right now than we do. But then again, if something happens on the more of the east side, it's going to get a side view of it. So that's exactly what it's showing.
So that CME is almost
And
exactly a side view. We're getting
yes,
literal.
and
Just
it is definitely crossing the equator. So it has Earth-directed component. How much of it? We don't know, but it's there. All right, let's go to models.
Yes,
First of
let's talk
all,
models.
yeah, let's go to M2M because poor guys had to model a ton of those eruptions. Only one has clearly been assigned to, let me actually increase the size of it so we're not struggling with views. So only one of them has clear assignment to M2 flare from 3939 active region, which is exactly what we were talking about. There are a couple of other models. One of them has just pure shock. There was a very, very faint halo that happened, and basically it was described just as shock. There is no bulk. So do not take that as predictor of what's going to happen in terms of forecasting. But we're interested in this one. And oh my God, it has 2 models. So it has 2 separate, well, 4 separate runs actually. This is for 5.5 AU for more remote spacecrafts. But one is for Earth and the second one is for Earth. So which one do we take? And we should take the one that is for bulk specifically. Shock, again, is for solar energetic particles. So that's for solar energetic storms. It brings protons. It doesn't bring aurora. So
like
let's grab that one.
Already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hint,
we
hints
did.
to everybody else.
I think we did. So let's actually grab the one that is modeling for bulk. Again, take all of those KPs that you see there with a great grain of salt. This is just yep, this is risk-focused modeling. This is the worst case scenario that can happen out of that CME if it comes with all south directed field. So all negative BZ all the time, which we know rarely happens. But in case it does, they're prepared for it. So we can go and take a look at the animation because that's often the coolest one. And yep, it's definitely showing as more of a flink. So it's not head-on arrival, not a direct hit. It's more of a flink hit, but it's a hit nonetheless. At least that's what the model is showing. What might be helpful is also the timing of arrival at Earth is at 13:14 ±7 hours. In reality, it's probably more like 10 to 12 hours. So we're looking at anywhere from morning time arrival for New Year's Eve into potentially, at least for North America, New Year,
Yeah.
New Year's Day. So that will be fun. Couple of other things I really like to look at is actually this field, which shows timeline, how things might evolve over time. So it models for different component of IMF. So how much of the BZ will be um, negative, and you get the max and KP8 in this model. Again, this is in the model, not in their reality. This is a forecast based on risk, not how it's gonna evolve. So that you can get KP8 with all southern field. This is based on velocity and also on mass. That's basically the run of the model. How it's going to happen, we don't know. So
My favorite
other
part of
things,
all of that is it showing, the KP levels. It can forecast that and at least model it, but not the actual magnetic field values.
that's true. And what's important again, this is on impact. How it's going to evolve afterwards, who knows? It predicts that it's probably going to fall over time, but we don't know whether or not there is flux rope in it. So this is all just for initial shock. It doesn't tell us anything whether or not we're going to see the flux rope, how it's going to look like, what the core of CME will bring. We have to wait and see that anyway. What else do we want to look at? Oh, let's look at
Yeah.
Huxt because they
Yeah,
modeled
Hux
this
has
one
an
too.
optimistic one. Woo!
It is an optimistic one because look at the speed that went into modeling, but this is
And
probably what Met Office, so UK is using this speed for modeling, and it probably gonna show earlier arrival and a little tighter spread. So when CME has fast speed, it's just not gonna smear out as much, and you're gonna see that it's 7 to 10 hours on both sides of the median, and you can kind of get a pretty nice ensemble in terms of where it's going to land. Pretty high probability again, and we kind of seeing it with both um, Ghost and Soho, and we're seeing it with Stereo A. So there is a Earth-directed component, and we got basically confirmation from modeling. This is based on 500 member ensemble. So 94.4% of that 500 ensemble landed in Earth direction, which is pretty optimistic. So great news for Aurora potentially, maybe, we don't know. So again, in terms of geomagnetic storming, that remains to be seen. So we have fairly high confidence in arrival. We have moderate certainty in terms of timing of arrival. Again, timing of arrival for high certainty. If you fall within that window, it's a win. But we have very high uncertainty in geomagnetic storming. So
would you
possibly.
say the speed chart at the top doesn't reflect very well what the other numbers are saying?
So the
I'm
speed
having trouble
charts,
seeing why it's going up to more of an average of 700 plus kilometers a second at arrival.
you're looking at the distribution
Just yeah, for the speed
because the
distribution.
initial speed used in modeling was 1015.
But it still has its average arrival speed at 564,
Mhm.
roughly for the peak at least. So I would
Yeah,
have
but that's
assumed
the median
there.
for the median.
That's such a huge spread. Yeah, I'm not liking this one at all.
We'll see what happens. Again, it might get refined later depending on what Met Office is using for modeling parameters. So we will see. This may change. This is a subject to change for the time being. All right. So
Yeah.
the bad part, the
Yeah,
bad news.
I was just gonna echo what Adrian was saying. Is that
Oh yes,
the faint CME structure on the way because of the third entry in the CME scoreboard from the top, with the south faint halo in C2 and south deflected eruption from AR 3938 maybe. So, yeah, I don't envy their job right now because it's been like, especially if you get like all these different flares and it's just like, you can get these little things that come off and then it's gonna get lost in the, because we only have that one, really that like one view in LASCO, so it's like, a 2D image. So, and then if you have a really bright flare that adjusts the camera, and then you don't see the structures anymore because it's trying to compensate for that bright flare too. If that happens, we've had that happen before, where like a bright flare happened and it kind of obstructed the view of the CME because of the camera adjusting for that. So it becomes really difficult when you have all this stuff going on to kind of make heads or tails of what. So
deflected eruption.
I'm just reading everybody else's comments because everybody's like commenting about the weather, our dismal weather forecast over here, which
yes, there's that.
Which I can go into that if you guys are done with models and things.
I have I have Lasgo up if you want to play with it. I'm not quite able to find the CME he's referring to yet. Okay. Oh, that's faint. Let's see. I see it in C3 after about 2 UTC.
You can share it if you want.
Oh, man. Here, let's do this. I have to use base differential imaging too, so it fills out a little more. I could not see it in running, but it's already out as a halo in C3 here. So it's on the edges. I'm assuming that's the one Adrian is referring to.
Let me take a look.
But that is hard to see. Yeah, you can see it more in the southern, right here. It's faint. It's hard to overpower that, but
yeah. But hey, I mean, if it's there, it's there.
Yeah, and it looks like it could very well be. I am having trouble seeing a halo shape. There's just too much going on. I mean, that's not a bad thing necessarily, but
yeah, there is. I can share in the model, but it looks like it is very, very glancing blow.
Oh yeah, yep, there it is.
It's definitely there.
Look at that little guy.
Yeah, it's
look at that little guy.
It's there. There is another one. Again, I wouldn't take it very seriously at this point because it's very faint and very shocky looking. So it was modeled as shock, but it's probably going to appear. Somebody's going to share this because it's already in Donkey. I can definitely share that one. Again, this is all shock. This is not going to impact the way it shows up in Donkey, and there is extensive note on that from the forecaster, who is Chris, and I do not envy Chris today.
Yeah, he's been busy.
There's a lot of work. They have to enter every flare that's M1 or higher. So full location, I'm sure he's been busy.
Yeah, what was so far everything arrival time is still kind of New Year's Eve, right? For basically any of this. I think that's what I've been seeing. So
yeah.
New
Year's Eve to early New Year's Day.
And then so how much does it actually matter if it's glancing blow versus head on? I mean, it kind of
quite a bit.
Like the glancing blows can give us sometimes really good aurora, or it all depends on how it arrives and how it hits, and if we see pieces of the flux rope, which can give us that negative BZ. When you get a head on, you can get more of that, obviously, because it's head on. So
quite a bit longer time frame too.
Duration.
I mean, it can be from 12 hours for side hits to 24 plus hours for the main hits.
Yeah. So it's always better to. It sounds bad. Us Aurora chasers sound terrible. Like, it's always better to get hit head on by this stuff. We don't care about our satellites. We just want to see Aurora.
But it also matters because we're getting either the very turbulent sheath where BZ is fluctuating all over the
Yep.
place, as opposed to we're getting initial sheath and the core of the CME that hopefully does
Is
have some negative BZ that's more consistent and can produce some storming, but sometimes core doesn't come with that, and we get the best of luck we can with a shock.
right.
So yeah, it's going to matter. So it's what part of CME you're going to see, and I think we're going to talk about it eventually, as far as what structures look like in solar wind and difference in arrival for CME as head-on versus more of the side swipe,
Yeah.
and how to tell them in solar wind data. But yeah, you will see that it's very different. We typically do get kind of two periods where you could see storming. One is from the sheath itself and from the initial shock, from initial arrival. It's sort of scrunched up magnetic field that was ahead of the CME as it was traveling toward Earth, and then the core of the CME itself. If it has strong negative BZ, then we get really lucky and we get nice storming from that.
Yeah. Exactly. Nice summary. But basically, what she's alluding to is I think one of our next main streams is going to be on how to read this in the solar wind data and what a flux rope is and all that fun stuff.
One of my favorite areas.
Yeah, because I know we've been asked about it, and we should talk about it since we mention it all the time. So yeah, we'll get there. But anyway, should we do weather now?
I am done with my area, so
Sure.
Tanya, good modeling.
Okay.
Yep.
I will bring up this awesome terrible forecast.
Awesome, terrible.
I mean, our friends in the southern hemisphere might be in better position than we are. Hopefully they are, because hopefully, if this hits and it's really good, hopefully they'll see something. But
wouldn't it suck if we had a good show of Aurora and nowhere on Earth was clear to see it?
Nobody sees it. Nobody. So let's see.
I'm sure it's happened occasionally, but
I'm sure. All right, let me bring up. All right, is this showing? Can you guys see the windy?
yes, now.
It's not a black screen. Yep. Okay, good. So this is Windy, one of my favorite little weather apps. I like it better on the phone than the desktop, but it gets the point across. Let's see. Most of our arrivals are predicted arrivals as New Year's Eve and the New Year Day. I know in the chat people have been talking about, because tomorrow we're coming out of a weather system right now, and we get a little bit of a break, but then we're getting another weather system that's kind of on the heels of it. And as you can see here, I have it on Tuesday, 31st at 12 a.m. No,
oh, hey, MB, looks like in the stream itself, it just shows your desktop background.
Oh, God. Okay. What about
I
this?
see it in Zoom, but
Does this
I don't
show?
think I'm seeing it in YouTube.
All right. Does that show now? I'm showing it in the OBS.
After the delay, we'll see.
Okay.
Maybe is it just me? I hope it's not just me.
I think it might have been right. I don't know. I'm showing it in OBS right now as the map. So we'll
Weird.
wait.
I see a bird. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. When you moved it over, you're good.
All right. So I told it to pull the thing, and it just, I don't know. One of these days I'm going to figure this out. I promise. So anyway,
I mean,
so we'll bring it on Wednesday the 1st. So basically Tuesday night into Wednesday, and you can see that it's a cloud fest for pretty much anybody in the Great Lakes region. Looks like, I think Justin was talking about Maine. It looks like Maine actually might have some clearing. I mean, there's a little bit of cloud, like the light gray is kind of like lower, or kind of like broken clouds, I guess, but you can deal with that. But for us poor saps over here, I guess we could all drive to Nebraska. But
crystal clear in Alaska, at least.
yeah, actually, let's look. Let's go up. Yeah, look at that. Okay.
Well, that's new. All right. Well,
Yeah,
Fairbanks has to get some clear skies too,
Yeah.
I guess.
If you're up in Alaska, I happen to be in Alaska for New Year's. It's looking pretty good up there. So yeah, even if this hits, it looks like for most of us, we're going to be virtually chasing it. So that's.
I'll polish my computer screen.
Yeah, polish my computer. Yeah, I don't gotta worry about charging batteries. It's yeah, because there's nowhere to go really. I mean, it's that time of year. This is the unfortunate time of year at least for us, it just tends to be cloudy all the
Yep.
time. November, December, January. It's
Until I think April, at least for me in
Yeah,
Ohio.
it's rough. If we get the cold snap that they're talking about in January, we're supposed to get below average temperatures.
I saw.
And
Looking forward to that.
and
We'll
if
should get some clear skies then.
yeah, because if the lake freezes, starts to freeze, then we can get rid of this convection here that likes to make clouds because of the temperature differential that goes on there. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky. I mean, I'll check the HRRR, but this only goes out to, yeah, it's too early for HRRR right now. Well,
Yeah, it looks worse anyway.
yeah, actually, 31st at 12 a.m. Yeah, it's the same deal. Yeah, it's worse. Except for Maine. Maine's better. It's actually a little clearer. So, Justin,
You're welcome, Justin.
you're going to have to take pictures for all of us and anybody else in any foreign countries that might have clear skies. So, we're counting on you all to capture this. It's like, oh yeah, actually,
No pressure.
Vincent Ladiva has a really good comprehensive list of webcams on his website, which should be theauroraguy.com.
The Aurora guy, yes.
I'll type it in. Aurora, Ura. He did a good job like compiling all these things together. And it's global. So he's got the North American ones, Alaska ones, Finland, Norway. I think he's even got some Southern Hemisphere ones, maybe. Russia. He's got some Russia ones on there too.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. He's got a good list. So I threw that in the chat for people that want to check it out because that's what we're going to be using is virtually chasing. So, I always like to be the bearer of bad news, so I will stop sharing now. Okay, back to this. Back to you guys in Studio 1A, Rockefeller Plaza. But that's kind of all we got. Unless there's any more questions.
Mostly just prayers to the gods to clear things up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But we figured this would be a good time to... mainly because there's a lot of hype on this and because of the confusion surrounding the front-sided versus back-sided thing. Considering, you know, all these people are really... They know what they're talking about. So they're, you know... It's good to try to, like... figure out what's what, make heads or tails of things. Because this isn't... I mean, it's hard. It's a hard field. When you don't have very much to go on to begin with, and you got to make predictions based off of, like, 2D image. It's tough.
Not good.
So luckily...
I still say G3 is optimistic. I would not expect... if this is the only CME we're going to be receiving, or even if we get that brief, faint one beforehand, G3 is optimistic, as is always.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
A couple of notes of caution for EPAM chasing.
Oh, yeah, EPAM.
Because there is so much flaring going on, we will see some impulsive rises in EPAM that basically do not mean much. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. There was a flare, it brought a little bit of particles, and it's gone. Same goes for solar orbiter. It is 12 degrees, well, almost 13 degrees now off the Sun-Earth line. So for this CME, it will be useful to some degree to reduce uncertainty, but we're talking about difference in arrival by a few hours. And same goes for particles in solar orbiter. There is actually an equivalent of EPAM in solar orbiter, same thing. There is so much flaring, and with solar orbiter also seeing sort of the east side of the sun a little bit better, there might be some flaring activity there. Wait for L1 on this one. There's just so much going on. None of the instruments will be particularly helpful. It's not going to be that useful. Do not chase protons. You want Aurora. L1 is your friend.
Yes.
So wait for shock at L1.
Couldn't agree more.
Good. Adrian said, thanks for bringing that up. So, yeah, because that's definitely a thing. When it's been this active, it just gets really confusing. So, L1 is our friend. We'll see what happens there and what we're going to get.
We just need a sign-off quote that involves something about
something
L1.
About
Because
L1.
that's basically what we do anyway.
Yeah. Wait for L1.
And remember,
L1
everyone,
or bust.
L1 or bust.
So, you guys that joined us, you got to see us twice. I know yesterday we're like, we'll see you next year, but the sun set otherwise. So maybe you'll see us again in like before the new year too, because it doesn't seem to want to stop. I don't know. It's got some
I mean, I'm fine if we get another active period. It's been since, October, I feel like, since we've had decent
Yeah, it's been pretty
things to
quiet.
update about.
So it's exciting. I get it. So anyway, but yeah, L1 is your friend should be a meme. It should be. It really should
We'll
be.
get on it.
So anyway, we'll let you guys have your evening back. If you manage to find clear skies somewhere, keep a lookout and post pictures so all of us that are buried under cloud cover can enjoy the show, or and then hopefully we'll get another year of really great aurora. This year's been pretty fantastic as it is, so I can't complain. And we still got plenty more. So on that note, I'll let you guys go, and you guys have a wonderful evening.